What's up? Can we get our too early tier list with a bit more Pacific bias? There wasn't enough for me on Plat. Listen, okay, we need to talk. You were expecting me to be in jail? I didn't say anything that bad. What did I say? What did I say to get put in jail? For the first time, I go to freaking bat. I die on the hill for Paper X, and this is what I get. Ew, you guys are brutal. You'll never be happy. It's so freaking rigged, man.
Wonderful. Love the tales. Never fails.
All right, you guys want to talk? You want to talk about this? You all set? Okay, for those who don't know, spoiler alert, Plat chat happened last night. All right, and before we even get started, my first line of defense is that I was running on like 2-3 hours of sleep, and this was at like 4 a.m. in the morning. Okay, I'm very sleep deprived. And I had to stay up all the way until like 5:30 a.m. So I know it sounds like an excuse, but listen, I wasn't in my best form to fight for everything, okay? So that's number one. But anyway, basically we did the too early tier list for 2025 of literally every team in VCT next year, which is a lot. And like, we all said it very, very blatantly that a lot of these teams, we just have no idea, right? Some of them, we don't even know the full roster yet. So it's all very up in the air. But yeah, so here it is, right? Feast your eyes on the insanity. First things first, I made it very clear before we got started that like, I think S tier should be literally like 3 to 4 teams. Now, I think that's tough. I don't think I could have done it either, but I do not think it should have been 7 teams. 7 is a lot of teams for S tier. 7 is a lot of teams for S tier. But these guys wanted to ride their hype a little bit, other than TMV, who wanted to just trash everybody. Which I also don't think F tier should be that many teams either. But, I don't think it should be I don't think it should be a perfect bell curve, but I think it should be somewhat of a bell curve, I guess is what I'm saying, right? So right off the bat, my standards for how to rate teams is just like, it's out the window, right? Because we're sitting here and calling anybody and everybody with a decent amount of hype and international finals appearances in 2024 an S tier team, and I'm like, I don't know about that. And then again, it's like 5 a.m. I had to pick my battles, chat. All right, I was ready to go to bat for Paper X and T1. Right, those are the teams that I was willing to die for on Plat chat. To the point that I wasn't gonna die for RQ. And then, but what happened was that these 3 Brits had their agenda of, well, we're just not gonna respect any of the Pacific teams, and so I just lost the battles that I chose, and then now everybody sucks. Okay. The coin toss, you know what? It wasn't even the Brits. The coin. Kurt hates Pacific. All right. The coin really ruined us. All right. I chose 2 battles, and both of them went to the coin, and the coin screwed me over. And at that point, I'm like, well, I already chose to lose the other battles. So, like, what are we doing here? That's a good question. So you're asking. Twitch is asking, F is like the best tier 2 teams can beat these teams 5 out of 10 times. No? In fact, I have no idea where we all thought F was. We kind of defined what S was. We never defined what F was. And that's probably where we messed up. Personally, F is like, I think they could win Ascension. But I think like they could win Ascension, right? Like, to me, F is like, this team could win Ascension. Like, there's no doubt they are the greats of challengers. But I'm not really seeing them punch above their weight confidently throughout the year. So, like, I don't know if I would say 5 out of 10 times seems pretty big. But I would say, like, maybe like 3 out of 10 times. Okay, so let's talk about the teams I agree with first, okay? There are some easy ones. Like, my personal ranking, okay? And I'll define it as, we're going to redefine these. I think A through D will kind of leave as is, but we'll say like S is like trophy lifters, right? Like international trophy lifters. F is like clearly best of challengers, right? Why does that make it green though? There you go. And then everything else we'll just put in D. So this is basically the reason I say this is because F doesn't mean a team is bad. They're just worse. Like I think a lot of people, because whenever you say F, we always relate it to fail because that's what it is. And everyone's like, oh, well, that's a failure of a team. And it's like, well, actually, they're not a failure of a team. They just aren't as great within tier 1, right? It's like if you go to the best university and then you fail on the curve, it doesn't mean you're an absolute idiot who can't learn. It just means everyone else there is like really, really smart and good at studying, right? So if it makes you feel any better, I say this as someone who's gotten an F on his report card before in college. I'm not proud of it, but it was an eye-opening experience. It was like a real knock on the head of like, oh my God, people are really smart here. So we'll probably do one before the year starts, where I would have had more time to like catch up on all the teams throughout the offseason as well. Because I haven't watched all of them, right? I've like tried to catch snippets of all of them, but like especially the Chinese teams, I haven't watched all of them. But all right, teams I agree with. Listen, we're not ordering them yet, but like I agree that Heretics should be S tier. I agree that EGG should be S tier. I actually really agree that G2 should be S tier, and I think Gen G should be S tier. Like I think these are, and it just so happens that there is one per region, in fact, so that's kind of cool. But yeah, I mean, I think the arguments we had on Plat Chat for each of these teams are all, that's pretty much where I stand, and I think that's why we all agreed. Like maybe we would disagree on the order a little bit, maybe, but. Like I'm totally fine with the argument that if we had to put them in relativity, I would put Heretics at the top, even though they actually haven't lifted a trophy, right? Compared to EDG and Gen G. I mean, listen, we don't even know who's playing on this team, and the ones we did know weren't that great. So like, they're probably down there, right? Who else do I hard agree with? Who else do I hard agree with? Are there any other teams? You know what? I hard agree with this, which now it's official, by the way. Nongshim Red Force. The SPG is now Nongshim Red Force. I agree with this. I don't know how hard, but I agree with that. I would say it's so funny that we actually ended up with Fury and F, by the way. That is very funny. Yeah, so Leviathan, they lost Aspas, yeah. But I think if, like, say, by the end of the year, I mean, I guess it's hard to quantify this in one way or another. Because obviously at the beginning of the year, they were, like, super hyped. Like, people were like, this is a super team, and they should be considered S tier. And then it wasn't. And then by the end, it was like, oh, actually, like, they could have been. So it's a little bit rocky. But while they lost Aspas, they now have Dune 1, and overall, like, it's still a pretty strong, core roster, I would say. You know what I mean? Like, I expect to see them at internationals, like, pretty consistently. Like, I think it would be surprising if they weren't making internationals. I think it'd be a disappointment, right? Let's put it that way. And the question becomes, like, is Demon 1 going to play well or not, right? I mean, he has to prove himself again, but I'm willing to give him the benefit of the doubt of, like, I'll believe in you and then get disappointed rather than, like, all right, well, prove yourself again. Otherwise, I'm not going to consider you a great player because, like, you were an MVP of a Champions winning team. So, like, and it's not like, like, even Ye, I still have faith in. I just think it's unfair to him now to have the same expectations. But I think for Demon 1, I think it's fair to have those expectations and then get disappointed, right? So, yeah. I mean, yeah, there's still roles and stuff, but what I mean is like, I think this is a team that has they have enough of each aspect of a team, right? So like say we're considering like calling, right? Your calls, your no, I don't want to buy Epic Pen right now. I do love the product, but okay. So you've got like calls, you've got like individual like complete mechanics, like basically aim, right? Let's say aim slash like movement within aim, right? Your strafing and stuff. And then you've got like X factor plays, like individual decision making. And then I would say like team play, like set plays, etc. Right? I would say that Lev, they can get messy. They're probably, there's a very large likelihood that they will be inconsistent again. But I would say I would still grade them above average across all of these fronts. And B is technically the above average, but then I would say the individual expectations and the X factor, like these two, would carry them from B to A for me in terms of expectation. So I think it's fine to have doubts about Lev. I think that's reasonable, but I think if you're going to grade them, like normally they'd be a B for me, and then these two factors would push them up into an A. That's where I stand. Honestly, I'm a little torn on DRX. Like there's an argument for A or B, so we'll get to that later. Dude, Tyloo is probably F. Right? But okay, let's do this, right? Like personally, I'm putting Tech in D. Right? Personally, I'm putting Tech in D. Like I know I don't think Haodong's saving this team into a playoff run contending team, but I think Tech is D. I don't think they're F. I think they have enough known values that they shouldn't be F. You know what I mean? I mean, quite frankly, both All Gamers and Tyloo could be better too. It's just that we literally have no idea. But I think Tech should. I know Tech didn't do well at all last year, or this year, but. That's where I would stand with that. I would probably agree with Gentlemates and D. I don't think that changes for me. Listen, I'm fine with Billy and C. I agree with that. In fact, I kind of made that happen. Who else? Okay, let's start talking about teams then. There's two ways we can do this. I can either tell you my thoughts on the other regions, which I obviously don't know as well, and where I'm ranking people, and then in comparison, like just like we did on Plat Chat, how Pacific stands up against it, or I can do Pacific first, and this probably changes the rankings ever so slightly. I can do Pacific first, based just on what I think they should be graded as, and then compare everyone else to Pacific. You know what? That's what we should do, because we're in Pacific, and Pacific is literally the center of the world. So, like, that's what we should do. It's nonsense that we should center it around other regions. That's crazy. All right. So, first of all, listen. Listen. I know Sliggy and I were half memeing. I was half memeing. I think Sliggy was 100% serious about the patch. Like we were talking about in his watch party as well in the RRQ Paper X game. But I think, okay, just give me a chance. First of all, you all know that I've been a big Paper X doubter. You all know that I'm a big Paper X doubter. That doesn't mean they're bad. I'm a doubter, right? I'm a big Paper X doubter. However, you consider that if we aren't considering like patch, et cetera, all of that into consideration, would they 100% be A? I think so, right? I think they would 100% be A. I mean, 2024 was kind of their worst year, and it still wasn't a bad year, right? They won a split of Pacific. They were still at all the internationals. So that would be A. But then you consider for the beginning part of the year, the patch is going to favor them. They're clearly trying. They clearly accept the fact that they have to get a bit more flexible, or at least have the option to, right? And it's not even about like flexible as in they have to play meta comps. I just think they're clearly trying to find new ways to redefine their own style within the metas, which I think is fair. Yeah, sorry, YouTube Nightbot's terrible, and I just keep forgetting to tweak it. Right? So like, yeah, 2024, their international run was disappointing because we now come to expect them to always reach top 4. But like, if they always reach top 4, they would 100% just be S, in my opinion, right? They're a contender for a trophy. Like, you know, you'd be crazy to I mean, you can doubt them because of like the whole like, haha, they just like can't ever actually win it, but like they should always be in the discussion. So that would be that. But then they had a bit of a disappointing year. We also should consider that they did have a bit of a roster and role redefining period, right? I'm not giving them too much credit for that, but it did happen. So there's that. So normally they would be A, but now I think the patch absolutely favors them for the beginning part of the year. They're already trying to change. They're at least trying to change how they think about the game and how to make sure that they can continue adapting. Then I think we should have faith. Like they're like, listen, if you guys want, say like DRX and high B or low A, then I think Paper X should be up here. You know what I mean? That's how I view it. Which I'm kind of torn between putting DRX in A or B. I think A's riding the hype a bit too much. I think B's the safer bet. But then also this is another team that like regardless of the players they have, they always reach internationals and they do well. So like, who knows? But to me, there's no like Paper X. You can doubt whether they'll win, but I do not know if you can doubt that they should be S tier. That's just where I'm at. So, listen. I'm fine with people being like, yeah, but they haven't won yet. That's fine. You can always add that argument. But if the moment they lift one trophy, if everyone in the world should agree that they're S, then I think there's a good argument that they're probably S anyway. Okay? I think A is fine. I don't think A for Paper X is like the biggest crime in the world. But I'm riding the hype a little bit. I'm kind of excited to see. Also, just in general, not just this patch, but in general, Valorant continues to be going towards this trend of like, we want people to always fight. So, okay, let me do this. Let's go with Pro. All right. So, for instance, on Pro, it doesn't matter who it is, but let's just say there's like let's say there's a Jet here, and let's say there's a KO here, right? This guy's a defender. How do I change them again? Man, I haven't used Valplant in a little while. Uh-oh. Somebody remind me. There's a key for it, no? Anyway, this guy's defending, this guy's attacking. The trend is that in the past, what would happen is that like this guy, the KO would like 0 point here, right, or whatever, and you'd be like, oh, they threw util, and so let's say you have like your where in the world is Sova? Let's say you have your Sova who like, you know, darts here or whatever, or they drone out to push out afterwards, but you got 0 points, so you have to wait, and then you're waiting. You know what? That's actually just the best example. So let's say you get 0 pointed here, right? Let's say you get 0 pointed by the KO. So you get 0 pointed. In the past, what you would do is you would just wait here, right? You'd be like, okay, they know we're here. Like, we gotta wait. We gotta wait until this is over because we gotta use our util to re-clear. And so you would basically take very, very clear, slow turns in trading util in the past. But these days, what's happening is basically this happens, and these guys are like, well, we can't give them a free, 10 seconds of just free control of A main without any risk. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna double swing. We're gonna swing out, which either the KO gets the kill, or he gets traded, or he has to back out. So if he backs out, now you have full control of A main. But at that point, these guys are then thinking like, yo, either we need to push back out here, right, with like a Phoenix or whatever, or let's say, your Killjoy's here and you're like, hey, there's like 2 guys, including the duelist over here. So immediately you should be pushing out of here for information. But if you're solo, you can't really do that. So you're like, okay, well, I don't see anyone B, long. So then maybe you guys are scouting out here with util or whatever it might be. Like, it has to be very instant. Like, the current meta is trending more and more in a way where it's no longer like chess. It's no longer like chess, but it's like speed chess. It's like bam, 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 bam. There needs to be a chain reaction. Whoever reacts faster is eventually going to win the round because you're always going to have the initiative. But if you just take turns of like, all right, they use their recon, like, all right, let's wait 10 seconds. Cool. Now it's our turn. Like, here's our piece of util. Like, oh, there's the reaction. All right, now what are they going to do? Like, that was the old days because everyone was like setting up every time. But now it's like, boom, 0 point. I push out. You get pushed back. You're pushing out of here. I fight for that. Maybe we're in a gridlock, at which point now you have to decide, do we pull this back or do we push in, right? It's very, very, the macro's much faster. It's more of a chain reaction rather than a slow flow chart. And I really believe that the teams who have faster chain reactions win. Like, they win more games and eventually have a better chance at lifting a trophy. And to me, PaperX is really good at that. Their decisions aren't necessarily the best, but they're very quick. Their decisions aren't great, but they're very fast. And so to me, that is an advantage for them. And that's where I stand, is that I think, if everyone else, if the game trends towards that, if the maps are trending towards that, if the agents are trending towards that, then I think even past the first patch, I think PaperX is favored. PaperX is S tier, chat. Feast your eyes, PaperX fans, because I don't know when this is ever going to happen again, but I'm putting them in S for the first time in my life. All right. That brings us to T1. Ideally, I would want to put them in S, but like I said, I don't want to overload it just with hype. So I guess that makes me agree with Plat Chat that they should be A. I think T1 on A is. I do think this is riding the hype, but I think it's pretty reasonable hype. Like, we've seen it during the offseason. It's coming together nicely. It's improving every game they play. They may not be as consistent as you want, but they look good, man. You got Meteor, you got Buzz, you got the front end, you got the back end. Then you got Stacks, who's clutching again. Izu's looking a lot more comfy with all Korean comms. Sylvan is slowly starting to wake up. I love that Sideshow was mentioning his anchoring, which is exactly why he used to be considered so good in Challengers Korea. Like, that's what got him to be in consideration right behind Mako back in the day. And so I think high A is fair. I think between these two teams, for instance, I think the only consideration would be, who are you more hyped for, quite frankly. And not just because it's Pacific, but just because I think actually T1 is a better known value. And also we've seen the chemistry already at work several times. I'm going to put them higher. DRX. If we hadn't seen them at Radiant Asia Invitational, or they didn't do as well, I would put them in solid B. But they made the switch that I was hoping they would make at some point in the offseason, which is freeing to Initiator, first of all, /Flex, and flashback to Sentinel. People seemed really split on this when the roster was announced, by the way. I was pretty damn certain that flashback on Sentinel and freeing on other roles was just going to have a better result than the other way. Because as great as freeing is as a Sentinel, I just think he's going to be more reliable in other positions, whereas flashback is like, the gap for flashback is so much bigger in my opinion. And then freeing is currently, they're trying out him IGLing at Radiant as well, and it's looking pretty solid, and he's still able to frag, and that's allowing Mako to frag and play like he usually does. So having seen that, I'm willing to put them in A again. I think I didn't fight for them at all during Plat Chat. I can't even remember. Half this conversation I don't remember, chat. But it was also like, I was trying to fight for PaperX in T1. Because listen, if you're going to put NRG and Sentinel in Tier 1, like, I mean, Sentinel, there's an argument. If you're going to put NRG in Tier S, then I think T1 needs to be in Tier S. But that's a whole different conversation. But I think, wait, also, yeah, people seem to be confused. Wasn't I the one who was arguing that we got to have faith in Termi? I'm pretty sure that's what I said. I think a lot of people are getting my words twisted. I was like, love it or hate it, you got to admit that they're really good at bringing up young players into their system. which they are. I'm a pretty big Termi believer, actually. I do think he's a bit stubborn, but I think he's really good. Do you think the Nongshim Challenger squad will find a new home? Hey, by the way, am I the only one confused on why they can't have a Challengers team? Oh, it's 3 academy teams per region. Wait, I had no idea about that. Really? Wait, that seems kind of borked. Really? I skipped over that part of the announcement. Oh. Dude, I hope so. I hope those guys find a home. I'll be real honest. I don't really care too much about the other players, but I hope X-Ross finds a home. Because X-Ross, like, he's going to get trialed next year for sure for Korean teams if there's open slots. Anyway, I think Chloe and Sid are also very good, but I think X-Ross is the most consistent. Anyway, I hope so. I don't know. The options aren't that great. The options aren't that great in Challengers Korea. Anyway, DRX, considering what we've seen and the fact that they're willing to like try out these different roles of IGLing and different roles, I think that's promising. And I think, it only took, the first half of the offseason for Hyunmin and Atan to start showcasing why people were excited about them. Because I'll be honest, initially, I wasn't that impressed. I was like, okay, I mean, yeah, you're great. But like, from what people have been telling me, like, you got to show me more. It was kind of like Foxy 9's debut. It was like, okay, you're good. But it's like, so is everybody else. But we're starting to see more sparks of it. So I'm fine with them there. Let's do Boom later. Let's do GE later. Okay, Team Secret. Dude, they're solid B. Team Secret is like... Team Secret, we said this on Plat Chat. I agree with this. They are the definition of a solid to lower half of B. Right? Like, it wouldn't be an upset if they made, like top 6 or whatever. It would not be an upset. But they could also very well not do it, right? They're just always there. They're literally the gatekeeper. Yeah, like I said, you could send them to China and they would be the gatekeeper team. You could send them to Americas and they would be the gatekeeper team. They like have this thing where they play to their opponent's power level and they're really good at it. And so, yeah, like if you consistently beat Team Secret, then you're probably going to internationals. If you can kind of beat them, then you would be tier B or C. You know what I mean? Like that's just where you're at. So, and they haven't made changes. Like we haven't seen anything otherwise to be convinced that with the same roster and Dummy Singh as a coach that they have been revolutionized. So, Secret is B. I agree with that. Okay. Talon. I think Talon's peak is A. I think Talon's peak, it's not even like a hope. I just think their peak is A. I think that's a fact. I think Talon's peak is A. But like, obviously we haven't seen enough consistency. Now, Frost can have the argument of, well, you don't need to be consistent if you just know which matches to win, which is fair. Listen, I'm cool with that. I don't know if that's how I would run a team, but like I don't think there's anything wrong with that. That's part of the game. So listen, I'm a guy who calculated which pieces of homework I can skip in high school to make sure that I got an 89.5 to get an A on my report card. Like I would literally just intentionally skip over like weeks of homework because I was like, well, I could get a 0 on that and I get an 89.5. So like I'm totally cool with that system. I'm totally cool with that mindset. That doesn't necessarily take away from them, but like we just haven't seen enough. I mean, Primi, I think we all agree that Primi's looking, he's looking like the promise is true, right? That the hype is true as long as he stays on Duelist. Like we all believe that, right? In which case, then I think Primi can be a big X factor. And I think if the other guys aren't getting swapped around too often, right, in the form of Governor and Ban having to constantly play like Duelist and then Sentinel and then Initiator and whatever, like that should be better. So like this is a team where I'm like, Listen, if I was afraid of getting graded entirely on my tier list, I would actually maybe put them in very high B, but I think the excitement can put them in A. Now, do I put them above or below DRX? Is like, I don't know, actually. Just because DRX is so unknown, it's more about DRX than talent, I would say. They're definitely below T1, though, in my opinion. I'm gonna leave them here, but I might put them here. But I'm gonna leave them here for now. We'll see how it looks. Like, we should also, just a reminder, you shouldn't start to consider this. You shouldn't. I know we talked about it with Team Secret, but you shouldn't look at this. If you're doing the whole world, the standard should not be can they make an international, because some regions it's going to be easier to make an international. So like that shouldn't be it, but it should be more a matter of like, do they go out and completely bomb out without showing anything? Or are you like able to compete? Are you contending to get out of groups at internationals? Are you contending to get top 6? That's what it should be. Just so we're clear. And that's where I'm like, I don't know. With talent, like this is about where I would say like we expect you to make playoffs even if the group is hard. But like, yeah, you could bomb out and we wouldn't blame you, but like we expect you to make playoffs and then maybe even top 6, right? And I don't know if I have faith that talent can make a top 6. In which case I'm like, maybe not. So they might get dropped down, but it's not final yet. Let's talk about DFM. Dude, I don't know what to think about this team, man. They look so good right now in the Radiant Asia Invitational. They look so good. I mean, I think they're like a solid C. Don't fall for their tricks. Don't believe the lies. But as I said on Plat Chat, the biggest thing for me, actually, what I do think is going to be a constant for them is that I think May's going to be able to perform better this year, right? I think it's very clear that he feels very comfortable in this team, and they are working to set him up, and they're working to trade for him, which gives him the confidence, so he's not always just going in and getting wrecked. Cess is the sub player. That is correct. Yeah, that's true. They're not playing with their full roster, which, you know, who knows if it'll swing one way or the other. Cess has improved, by the way. Cess always had he always really had a good head on his shoulders whenever he was playing last year, but it was the aim that was a little bit inconsistent. So, but if May is getting more enabled, and I think May can be an absolute, you know, goated player, then I think trusting in May, if he's enabled, to keep them in C, where it's like it would be an upset if they made an international, but it wouldn't be like the craziest thing. Then I would put them in C. Yeah, I'll be very honest. Art and his Odin is like partially why I'm excited for this team and partially why I'm worried for this team. No, I'm a Gen G believer still. No, I think people having knee-jerk reactions about Foxy9 is unfair. I say this as someone who, I always said Meteor was my guy on Gen G. Like, he was the guy I believed in Gen G. I think DFM on C is fine. If you're riding the hype, if a fan of DFM wants to put them in B, I'll let them have it. But I don't think they're B. Like, I don't think I expect them to make internationals. Oh, Ascent is gone, but Lotus is coming back. Checkmate, atheists. So we're good. We're fine. All right. Zeta Division. Okay, I'm curious what everyone else thinks. Do you think Zeta's got more hope or less hope than DFM? Because from what we've seen, DFM seems to be delivering more. But quite frankly, the expectations for DFM were pretty much rock bottom. So it's not that hard to blow us out of the water with DFM. Whereas I think Zeta, we have some more expectations. You believe in Zeta less? Is B tier they'll make an international tournament but won't get out of groups? Yeah, I think B tier is like I'm not. I think you can make one international, like minimum one. I don't know if you're a regular, but I think you could be. Like you could be the new dark horse of the international is where I see B. Like you could be. It doesn't mean they're making it. You just like it wouldn't be shocking. It would be a bit of like a like a new guy on the block, but not like if DFM made an international last year. You know what I mean? Like that's where B is. In my head. Now, you can all redefine it. I think as long as you have S and F defined for yourselves, it's generally okay. Zeta, solid fifth, well, within Pacific. So, like, you don't have... I don't know if Zeta's making it international. But the part of me is, like, I think Depp looks a lot more comfortable on this team, and I think CLZ's calling is enabling this team quite a bit. I hope we don't have to call him Clues, man. Clues and Cruise is... not the most fun, but if he wants it, I mean, we'll do it. But it's all caps. Like, I don't know. CLZ's kind of sick. Anyway, I don't know. I'm kind of buying into the CLZ IGLing hype. I'm kind of buying into the CLZ IGLing hype. But I'm not as impressed with Shota. So like that's like I look at Shota and I'm like, maybe I was overhyped. And then I look at CLZ and Depp and I'm like, actually, you know? So either way, we'll leave it here. You think Jonta's coaching would take time for success? Oh, that's an interesting point. Let's leave him here. They're C tier no matter what. Are they? Are we sure they're not D tier? They're not D tier. Listen, we're in Asia. We don't have Ds and Fs. You know what I mean? JK, because we're going to talk about global esports and boom esports. We'll organize the order later. We'll organize the order later. So GE. So chat. I actually have a video on GE from some of their face-off games. I didn't get to watch every single map, but I watched most of it. But also like it's. I think as a fan that event was great. First of all, I just want to say like props to GE. Like they were supposed to be at FanZeal, right? The one that got canceled, and then also Convergence was supposed to happen and it got canceled. So like that really sucks. But then you tried to organize whatever it is, right, to showcase a bit of your players, to get them some reps, even if it's at the risk of you guys doing this really early in the roster's formation. I have mad respect for that, and I think. No matter who, it doesn't matter who the opponent was. It was just great, I think, if you're a fan of the team or you're interested in the team, just to be able to see. So like that's good, and for the players for sure. So that's good. So that's that. However, like you're playing against an all gamers who we don't even know if that's their roster. You're playing against a rare Atom that isn't rare Atom anymore. So like I'm not taking those games into account at all. I mean, maybe not at all. Yeah, you should take into some like the set plays and stuff, but I'm not really reading into that. So then I'm looking at the games I can kind of count on, which is the games against Naus and Boom, because their opponents are known values, right? Like we know what to expect from Naus and Boom, and we know whether their performance in those matches was like over or under and things like that. And yes, again, reminder, like the face-off event is not how they should be looking in 2025. Like this is very early on for GE's roster, and it's very rough around the edges. That's fine, but then so GE's a team where I'm like, if you're a fan and you want to rate them at their peak, I'm cool with that. But if also you're not a fan and you're like, well, yeah, I'm a doubter until you prove it, I'm fine with that too. And that variance is pretty big. Because in my opinion, let's say they prove 0, like the worst case scenario is that they're F. I think they, like for instance, like DRX's worst case scenario can't be that they're F. Gen G's worst case scenario is not that they're F. But like G's, and when I say worst, I mean like worst. Like they don't improve at all from face off, let's say. I don't think that's going to happen. But if they don't improve at all, then they would be clearly the best of challengers, right? Like they shouldn't lose to the challengers and accession teams all the time, but I and here's why I say this. And this is, I have this video recorded, but it's not fully edited, and not that I'm doing crazy edits, but it's not cut, so I haven't uploaded it. But I talk about it in the video that I'll upload at some point this week, where I mentioned it in Plat chat. They have some good ideas, like round to round. They have good set plays. Their set plays are generally pretty good as long as it was set up. But like the moment they don't get their timing, right? Let's say you're setting up. I mean, we'll just use Pearl as an example. Let's say you're like, all right, we're gonna sit here, and right now, because they're rough around their edges, it takes a lot longer. I'm taking that into account. But you're like, all right, my lineup's ready. All right, we're ready to go. And then, but before you go, it's like, boom, 0 point. It just came back. You didn't keep track of the cooldown. Then I'm looking at things like, okay, you didn't keep track of the cooldown. And then now that it's 0 pointed, if you just wait around and you're like, okay, well, we got to wait another 10 seconds before we do our set play. I'm like, well, that just isn't going to fly at tier 1. You know what I mean? They're not going to let you do your set play anymore. Because by that time, let's say like this guy's already here or whatever it is. So, but also I have a lot of, we should say hope in the coaching staff. I'm pretty excited for Juvenile, and I've always liked the ideas that Elevated puts out there, whether it's on the podcast, whether it's his own theory crafting. So I'm pretty hopeful. I'm pretty big on those guys as the coaching staff. But the part we don't know as outsiders is how coachable are the players. Like that, we just don't know. Like some people are really skilled and they're not coachable. Some people are absolute garbage and they're coachable. So I mean, that's where I stand of like, well, if you're a fan, I think it's fine to have bigger hopes on them. Like, I think their peak in 2025 in 1 year, I think their peak would be C. Like they would be a solid C team, you know, like I would expect to see them in 1 or 2 playoffs within the region. But I don't think they would get like, you know, much higher. I don't think they would make an international, things like that. But I think that's their peak. So if you're a fan and you're like, well, I think they can reach that peak in a year. Oh, you know, I think that's reasonable. But if not, then I think they're D. But I think they're a high D. I think they'll have enough stability. Like Tech is not a high D. Because Tech is like, you're getting saved out of F tier by your individual skill and X factor. To me, at least. Right? That's where I rate it. Whereas GE, I would rate higher than F because I think their foundations are going to be good. I think their fundamentals are going to be good. So, yeah. Listen, I think they will improve, and I think they can. I just don't know how quickly. Like, you know, it's a matter of, like, do we start seeing them improve, like, split 1, split 2, like, end of split 2, kickoff, right? Like, that all changes the entire thing. So, But I will say they're a very exciting team. They're a very exciting team. They're a very exciting roster. So this isn't me like putting them down. It's also just everyone's really good right now. All right, boom. Everyone likes, and whenever we talk about boom, dude, oh man, I made the mistake of, because I was like, well, tier lists are fun. So I looked up the comments on the YouTube video for Plat Chat. And like, you all think we're bad at making tier lists, but my God, the community is so score based. You guys are like, yeah, but they were 2 rounds away from getting ascended. And I'm like, what? Yeah, sure. But Team Secret is always literally 2 rounds away from making an international. That doesn't make them suddenly an international team. You know what I mean? Like, RRQ is literally 2 rounds away from beating Gen G 4 times in a year. That doesn't suddenly make them an international contender. Like, it's such a dumb argument. It's such a dumb argument. Don't bring that here. Okay? Listen, I think the way they played in the grand finals was literally a life game of the entire team. The way Boom played, I'm not taking it away from them. I'm not saying it was out of their league. That was their peak, but I think that was like all 5 players and the team synergy working at 99.9%. That's how I see it. Like, I think Boom in the grand finals of Ascension was literally every bar like constantly hitting 99.9%. So, which is fine. Like, that can happen. They could peak again. You know, it wouldn't be the greatest shock in the world. We'd all be like, oh my gosh, it happened again. But we would all say, oh my gosh, it happened again. That's how I feel. Because quite literally, I did not rate Boom high going into Ascension. I don't want to talk too much about Ascension because, quite frankly, I was really annoyed at the way people were rating and ranking and having expectations for Ascension, because I feel like it was all these people that were only looking at their own regions, and it's just like, that just wasn't it. Like, you can blame me, like, you can tell me that you think I'm biased because I'm Korean, but also if you watch enough of me, you would know that I think Korean Valorant still kind of stinks. But it's like, for instance, SPG was, for me, they were hyped going in because they had really cool ideas. It was very clear that they had clear ideas for themselves. They were playing a pace that most teams weren't used to. They had individual mechanics, but then when they got challenged, they knew how to adapt eventually. It always took a little bit longer than I would have liked, but they did, right? So that, you know, they knew how to work with what they had. Like, and if it had to be aim duels, it had to be aim duels. Like, it was the same against Boom, right? Like, Francis is like, yo, just lock me in, deadlock wall me in showers, and I'm just going to have to win this duel, and that's how we win this round. But, like, at the very least, you understand that. Like, you know what tools you have. That's why I rate Nongshim and, you know, XSPG really high. Boom did not have that. Boom was like this team that's really good at skirmishing, but they kind of need time to set up for the skirmish, for the util. But when it happens, they're really good. They're really good at these like 3v3s, 4v4s. But if you don't give it to them, they kind of falter, right? The macro wasn't there. The meta interpretation wasn't there. So I didn't rate them highly, but I did have them going to the grand finals because I thought, okay, with home ground advantage, they should be peaking. Or, you know, different teams react differently. But I expected them to peak because they're not strangers to the fan base and the energy. And they did. And that's exactly where I thought they would be. So normally, like, they would be here. And then some people are going to come in here and be like, yeah, but they just beat GE in the face-off. And I'm like, yeah, dude. And these guys have been playing together for so long. And GE has been playing together for 3 weeks, man. And then you're going to be like, yeah, but they had just switched their comms to English too. And I'm like, I don't know if that's really going to matter here. Quite frankly, worst comes to worst. Like, they could have just said in the panic of things, forget DOS9, we're just going to communicate like we used to, and they'd still do fine, because I think DOS9 is the type of player who can just kind of look at the minimap and catch on to the flow and do just fine. I am exciting for DOS9. I am excited for DOS9. And I think this team can also climb higher. I think they can. It is a little tough because I have Tech in D. It is a little tough. Because do I think Tech is clearly better than Boom? Definitely not. But do I think Tech has enough X factor to beat Boom when it matters? Maybe. Probably. The Boom players are all good, but, like, listen, let's be honest. Just like every other team, if you're getting to Ascension, you're not winning it. If you're not always winning your own region, like, there's probably a reason, right? Man. No, I'm pretty low on. I think Boom. I think Boom can do damage, but I think they're just. I think they're just damage. I mean, listen, I'll yield. The highest I will yield is bottom D. No, DOS9's really good. I think DOS9's really good. But I think DOS9 is I think he's good in the sense that he's a bit of a plug-and-play player in my mind from what we've seen. We haven't seen much, but from what I've seen, DOS9 is the type of player where, like, you can plug him into any roster and he'd get value. Is that what Boom needs? I do think it's an upgrade, but is that what Boom needed? I don't know. Because Famous and Berserks are great when they peak, but will they peak often enough to be the X factor for the team? I'm not so sure. Also, NC Slasher is a bit of a forgettable part of this roster, in my opinion. Shiro's calling is pretty good, though. It is a little slow, but it's pretty good. He has good reads. It's just not very quick. I feel like in the hypothetical universe where Boom won the extra couple rounds, the dominant narrative would be that SPG threw or choked in the finals. That probably would be the dominant narrative. I would have argued that Boom just absolutely peaked. Because at the end of the day, like, yeah, someone's making a mistake and someone's capitalizing on it. But Sultan was honestly a better fit out of the two Kazakhs. I think Sultan would have done more for the team. Yeah. Yeah. Like, I rate Sultan higher than DOS9. It kind of depends on what you want. Listen, I'm going to keep him here, chat. I know I want them to do well. But, okay, you know what? We'll put it here, because here's the thing. They might be the hungriest team in the entire world this year. Because literally everyone, if they keep losing, literally everyone's going to look at them and be like, well, you weren't even supposed to be here. And I think especially after so closely losing the grand finals, like those players, these guys are motivated. So I'll give him that. But the counterpoint to this is, if I rate you D and you don't perform at a D level, well, like, I'm losing faith in all of you guys. So, like, right? Including the CEO. So, like, this is your chance. This is your chance. Do you think that this year's teams are better overall than last year? 100%. Almost in every region. Almost across the board. Okay. Last but not least. Just in case anyone's wondering, which I don't think any of you are, but we're probably not playing Baldur's Gate 3 today. But anyway. If you want to know where my mind is about RQ, all you need to know is I wasn't lying when I said I put on my RQ jersey for maps 2 and 3 of RQ versus Paper X yesterday. And then after they lost, I immediately went and changed because I didn't want to be wearing it for Plat chat. That's where I'm at. All right. I just couldn't do it. Ah, man. The RRQ roulette. RRQ is F, I think. Get out of here. My God. You think... Whoa, chat. I said I was disappointed in this team. I did not say that I think they're bad. Not that I think Zeta and DFM are bad. You think they're around Zeta, DFM, and Team Secret? I don't know. I don't think so. No, I rate them higher than Secret. The only thing is the Secret's so damn consistent. But I will always favor the X Factor until it's like the very, very top tier and you're talking the whole year. But for instance, if you're telling me like at the first Masters, let's say all 5 of these teams appear, who do you think is winning? I don't think it's Heretics, right? But if you're like, well, over the whole year, who do you think is going to be the most, like the best average? Then I think it's Heretics, right? Like that's where I stand. Oh man, but do I think okay, listen, I think RQ at their peak is A. I think at their peak, RQ is A. I think RQ absolutely should be beating Secret. And like, I think it's a conversation of, I think Nongshim could be beating RQ, but I think RQ generally should be winning. That's where I stand. To me, Talon and RQ are kind of similar, except that Frost is like so min-maxing. He's so good at min-maxing that he just knows how to charge up to peak at the right time, right? Like, Ewok's just too nice. Ewok's too honest. And he's like, well, we're just going to continue to grow. And it's like, that's great, but then Talon's going to take your spot. You know what I mean? So, no, I think these two teams, I think RQ should be the one who's winning. I think Nongshim can beat them, but I think they should be the ones who are winning. RQ is like Zeta and Paper Rex. They belong in F. This isn't a reflection of their skill as a team, but the pain they've caused their biggest fans. I'm going to do A, but I'm going to make it very clear. The only reason RQ is in A tier is because this is the first time in my life that I've been a fan of anything, and I have to commit. Because otherwise, I'm never going to become a fan of anything ever again in my life. So RQ is A tier. RQ is A tier. All right. Pacific is so stacked, chat. No, but in all honesty, other than RQ, I'm like pretty fine with this. I'm pretty fine with this. Just so we're clear though, right? Like, let's say, right, in my personal idea, A tier is like a team who's definitely going to internationals and like they should be shooting for top 6, but you know, generally making at least one of the playoffs, something like that. Just so we're clear, you can't have all of these teams in these tiers. It's just not realistic. So like already, like some teams are going to be disappointments compared to the tier list, but it's a tier list, not like a ranking system. So that's the difference. Okay. I'll just quick fire the rest of them. Listen, 2Gamers. I don't know what to think about these guys. You know what? Maybe we do this. Maybe Tech's like the very last part of D, right? That might be where I stand, dude. I don't know, man. I have so much respect for Sliggy, and generally, I find that we agree on a lot of things and a lot of our interpretations. But like he is. I'm pretty hopeful for Crew, but like he is riding the Crew train. Meanwhile, dude, Sideshow is like, dude. I was very excited for Heat to join Crew this year, but I don't think Heat leaving Crew is necessarily like the biggest knock. I think maybe Crew's kind of like Secret though. Like, but maybe higher just because they do always qualify and they do some damage. Yeah, you might be right. Crew's there. Let me quick fire and then we'll tweak it. Loud is there. MIBR is here. Energy is here. Sentinel is here. 100 Thieves is here. Cloud9 is here. EG is here. Furia. Dude, I don't know. Chat, you choose. Where's Furia going? I have no thoughts on Furia. They're definitely not F. No, Furia is not F, chat. Get out of here. Furia is not F. TMV. Look at what TMV has done. You guys are crazy. You think they're C? C or D? Yeah, they're C or D. I'm gonna go with high D. DRG is probably like right here. Maybe higher, but like somewhere here. Maybe here. Oh, FPX, they break my heart. We'll come back to them. JDG is probably here. Nova. Ugh. Yeah, Nova's probably here too. I guess we just can't help, but China just hasn't, the bottom tiers of China just haven't proven enough. Trace, I'm like willing to put them like somewhere here. Wolves, XLG. Oh, Apex. How much? Well, the thing is, I'm excited to see Floor at a higher level, but like, how much faith do I have? I don't know. Oh, D's getting a bit too stacked though. We might have to knock some teams down, chat. Boom might have to get knocked down. But then JDG, I don't know. BBL is probably somewhere here. Fnatic is A. Foot is A. Yeah, Foot is A. Foot's A. Koi's probably D. Navi's probably C. Liquid. Oh, dude. Man, I don't know. You think Apex is F? We're not riding the train? Yeah, I guess. I mean, also, yeah, it's not fair to put so much pressure on Floor. I'm just excited to watch Floor at a higher level and see the journey of how much you can go. So, yeah, but yeah, a big part of Shopify Rebellion's success, by the way, is the team. Like Sarah and Alexis are the goats of support. They're the goats. Yeah, for Liquid, I think the roster looks good. I'm actually down for C for them, but I just don't know how they're going to work as a team. Wait. The order isn't final yet. I'm just slotting them in. The order isn't final yet. Calm down. Man. So where does FPX go? Oh, where does FPX go? This is a lot of A's. Vitality C? My God. Like, I'm a bit of a doubter, but the roster is so stacked. Yeah, I mean, they're definitely not below Nongshim. But I don't think they're like 100% always beating Nongshim. And but like, I don't know. I think they're basically top B or low A in my opinion. Okay, let's tweak it. Let's tweak it. All right. First of all, so I'm like pretty set. Order wise, I'm actually so excited for the G2 roster with Jog though. But I'm gonna do this. I think order wise, like I'm cool with this for S tier. I think S tier is a lock. Even the order, like I'm kind of cool with this. So now looking at teams that like I think should be regulars at internationals, right? And like they should be like in each group, they should be the stronger team. Like you'd expect them to win. I mean, unless they're matching up against each other. Like basically like the second seeds of each group, right? Vitality 100%. I mean, I honestly the roster itself is the excitement levels for this roster is S tier for sure. It's just like we won't know until we see it. So I'm fine with that. Honestly, I am kind of on the Sentinels hype train, but I don't listen. Paper X is up there for my hype train vote, so Sentinels gets booted because I'm in Pacific. If I was in Americas, I probably would have put them above and Paper X below. T1 here is fine. I am going to rate Sentinels higher just because I think they're more of a known value overall, even with the row swaps. Lev is fine. Lev is fine. Dirix is fine. So Fnatic should probably be higher. I'm going to go like here. NRG should be higher. But how much higher? I don't know. I'm not like big on the NRG hype. I'm thinking like I'm basically right around here. Do I expect them to have a better year than Talon? I don't know. Do I not believe in Finesse? I love Finesse's IGLing, but I don't know if it can keep up anymore, to be honest. You know what? This might be it. Is MIBR an A tier just because of Ospas? Yes. That's how much I rate Ospas. I don't know if he's... Like, I'm not going to say he's by far the GOAT. There's no argument for it. I'm not going to say that, but I think the impact he can have on a team is that big. Like, Aspas is insane. Like, dude, this guy is... He's insane. Foot over FPX is kind of rough. I think FPX has higher peaks, but Foot's kind of like an upgraded Team Secret in my opinion. They're very consistent, but they have their own wacky ideas, which is part of it. But they lock it in. So there's that, and then Trace fine, Crew fine. I'm actually kind of big on Trace. Loud. I want to be hyped for Loud. But Loud is more of a hype vote than 100 Thieves. I mean, Loud's definitely a hype vote. Loud's a hype vote for sure. But I just think Pancada back on Smokes on a Brazilian team, that's pretty big. And I think Tui's is going to continue to grow. I also rate Kawanzine really high. But yeah, like I do wonder. They're getting more coaches, right? They said that, I think. So I don't know. Yeah, the team play, yeah. Listen, I will put it this way. I mean, this is partially because we've seen more of Carmine Corp, but I think I'm more hyped for... I think I have more faith in my hype for Loud than Carmine Corp at this point. But, like, Carmine Corp, similar to Vitality, like, you look at the roster and you're like, well, that's a pretty damn good roster. You think 100 Thieves should be higher? I could be very low on 100 Thieves. I'm a big fan of Zeke's, though. I'm a huge fan of Zeke's. Ever since the League days. You think 100 Thieves should be higher? I'm okay with that. I'm okay with 100 Thieves being higher. But but that's where I draw the line. Oh, are they higher than Crew, though? These would only make one international straight to playoffs. No, I'm fine with this. I'm torn on these guys, like these three. Am I bumping any of them down to C? Can you explain this ascension system that teams get promoted to tier 1? Well, it's kind of changed now. Basically now the ascended teams have to prove themselves in tier 1. And if you, I forget, there's like several scenarios, right, of like making playoffs and who's higher and things like that. But basically, if you don't prove yourself, you are also sent back into Ascension, and you have to play against everyone else. And that's yearly now, so it's every year you basically have to prove yourself. But there will always be a chance for at least one team to ascend, a new team to ascend, but they will always have to also fight against one of the teams that were in prior. So, like, in the case of Pacific, a new challengers team would also have to be... they would also be in the same tournament as either Boom or Nongshim, which we wouldn't know until the end of the year. Yeah, you guys are selling me 100 Thieves. You guys are selling me 100 Thieves Hopia. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. I almost bought into it last year, and it almost hurt me. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. Cloud9 is definitely high because of their performance, but I think they're like at the end. Dude, Carmine Corp. Now I'm just an EMEA hater. Am I an EMEA hater? I do think EMEA has a bit of a weird spread of teams. I do think that. Okay, let's move on. Carmine Corp, Giant X. I think Giant X is fine. I'm willing to bite on Wolves. I think that in DFM like is fine. I'm just not big on BLG yet, but I used to be a big fan. I'm excited. They're an exciting team, but I might be proven wrong here. That's fine. EG, I think the peaks are very high. Obviously, a lot of us still have a lot of faith in Potter, and the core. And then Ye's return, I'm very excited. I really think this could be an environment, just from what we've seen and heard so far, where Ye could grow again. Like, I think this is a team where their peaks could be up here, but it's hard to rate that right now. Navi, I'm pretty excited to watch what Happy does with Navi. Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with this. The real question is do any of these guys get to get bumped up, and do any of them get bumped down? Maybe I'm rating SLG too high. EMEA is just getting messy as a region, to be honest. Am I too high on Furia? I might be too high on Furia. Throw EMEA a bone. Bump GE up just a little bit, you know? You'll hate me, but Boom bottom tier. I mean, this is a consideration for me. Boom might be a bottom tier thing, but the reason I'm putting them here is because I'm gonna bank on them their motivation being the greatest in the entire world because of the situation they're in, and I'm gonna put I'm willing to bet on the side that will make a difference for them. It may not. Realistically, I don't think it will, but I'm willing to have the hopium. Yeah, I'm fine with this. How different is it from Plat Chat? From what we did here, which I was part of it. Dude, I cannot believe we put 7 teams in S tier, man. And then what is this, 8 teams in F tier? I mean, this is all TMV's work, but... Yeah, they're very big on NRG. Which, like, but the reason I didn't fight against it too much is, like, they're very big on NRG as a combination of that roster plus coaching staff with Bonkar, which is like, you know what? Like, that's cool. Like, I'm down with that. I'm willing to bite. I just wouldn't do it. But so Nongshim will compete in tier 2 next year, or the slot potential, or will it be Boom? Well, we don't know. It's whoever. I think both of them are now on a 1 year. I think they're just going to tell them that they're both on the 1 year now. A proper tier list should follow normal distribution logically. Yeah, but honestly, I'm fine with like a top hat tier here, just because it's all regions. Like, if it was your own region, if it was one region, it should be a bell curve. But I think if it's all regions, I think this is fine. The reality is that it can't be real because not as many teams can go to internationals and then perform because there's only a number of slots. But I think the idea is like, in a world where if it was world qualification for Masters, then how would this look, right? It's like, no, I'm fine with this. Chat. Forget Plat Chat. Get this out of here. This is wrong. Do not listen. Do not listen to the British frauds. Don't do it. You can listen to Sliggy. That's fine. But even Sliggy gets his hopium sometimes. But then again, I'm a fan of RQ, so like I'm willing to trade blows with him there. Don't listen to this. It's just wrong. All right. Listen, I failed you all on Plat Chat. I was wrong. Don't listen to it. All right. This is the real deal. This is it. I'm actually okay with this. This has a good balance of like some excitement and then some just practicality. Yeah, dude, EMEA is struggling, man. EMEA is struggling for the one team region slander. It's I will say, Sliggy brought up a good point before, several times, where with champions coming to Paris, he thinks it's greater motivation than ever for a lot of these EMEA teams, and especially the French orgs, which I think is true. And so it could be a similar scenario as Boom, where like that motivation is what makes the difference, right? Which would be cool. That would be cool. I think it's a better list, but a bit APAC pilled coming from an APAC fan. What do you mean? What do you mean? Pacific's clearly the best region. It looks a bit APAC pilled until I bring RRQ down. And then it doesn't look that APAC pilled anymore, in my opinion. I will say, let's put it this way. I think Pacific teams, the roster mania in Pacific, had the biggest jumps in improvement and excitement and expectation. And so that definitely plays a factor. It's not necessarily because I'm from Pacific, but I do just think that, like, I think Pacific started lower, a lot of these teams, and then they made like really big leaps in their roster changes. So I think the excitement of the expectation is much greater. But obviously, whether they get there or not is different. You weren't talking much on Plat Chat to counter them. Dude, I'm surprised I was awake and talking logically at all, chat. By the time we were doing this tier list, it was like 3:30 a.m. I was not in a good state of mind. I literally woke up this morning and I'm like, I can't believe I actually finished the episode. And I just like scrubbed through it, and I was like, oh, at least I sound like a human being. That's good, because I don't remember sounding like a human being. But anyway, before we talk about other stuff, yeah, this is where we're gonna sit for the tier list. Again, it's too early. We haven't even seen like half of these teams properly. Some of them don't even have full rosters yet. I haven't watched, even though teams have played off-season tournaments, I haven't watched all of their games. I'll just say it. This is for fun. It's mostly just off of how I read the room here. But I don't think it's that crazy. Like, I look at this and I'm like, I don't know. I don't think it's like me ranking Gen G 9th or whatever last year, 7th. I think I ranked them 7th. I don't think it's that bad. But then again, I didn't think that was bad last year, so who knows? But we'll do a more proper one right before the season starts. We're gonna revisit the Pacific one as well before the season starts, just so we have a better idea. For like Pacific, we'll probably just do like pick'ems, right, of like the first tournament. But yeah, cool. Overall, though, I think other than, I mean, I don't know about within China, but other than Nova All Gamers and Tyloo, which we just have like no idea what they're going to be doing, I think all these teams are quite exciting. I think all of them have reasons to be excited about, which is cool. Like, that's hard to do. So I think Valorant's in a good spot. Like, it's whether it's stories, whether it's individual players, whether it's the team branding, like all of them have something to latch onto, which is pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So I'm down for that. 2025 is going to be a good year for VCT. 2025 is going to be a very good year for VCT, both within region and internationally. Dude, I'm already getting chills thinking about champions in Paris. Like, that's pretty exciting. Oh, I hope they knock it out of the park. The fans in Paris generally for esports are pretty great. So yeah, you know, have at it. Feast your eyes. We'll see. We'll revisit it. That's always fun because it always goes so well. We'll see how it goes.